The film begins in a restaurant where we see several people lying dead. To understand what happened and how these people were killed, the story flashes back to an earlier day. We are introduced to the movie's main character, Nancy. She is in a field taking a pregnancy test, and it turns out to be positive. She gets extremely scared because she's not married, and this pregnancy was completely unplanned. Distressed, Nancy goes to her grandfather's restaurant where she works as a manager. On the way, her car runs out of petrol, so she decides to walk the rest of the distance. That's when she runs into Bobby, a restaurant employee, who gives her a ride on his cycle. They both arrive at the restaurant. Once there, Nancy's grandfather tells her that she'll have to manage the restaurant for the night because he has to attend a meeting. He thinks she's capable of handling it. He also mentions that he's asked Jack to stay and help her. But Nancy gets angry. She doesn't like Jack at all. She asks her grandfather to let Bobby stay instead, but he refuses, saying he's already informed Jack. Nancy steps out of the office, but suddenly starts vomiting. She rushes outside the restaurant, where she runs into Jack, who's out there secretly drinking. Seeing her condition, Jack figures out that Nancy is pregnant. He asks her, "Does your grandpa know about this?" Nancy doesn't respond. Just then, her grandfather arrives, which makes her even more anxious. But he doesn't notice her condition. He just tells Jack, "Treat every customer properly, and Nancy will assist you." Nancy, now unable to hold back, asks her grandfather why this meeting is so important. He tells her that ever since her grandmother died, he's been feeling very lonely, and he has decided to remarry. He's going to meet a woman tonight. Hearing this, Nancy gets even more upset. It means she would now have to share her grandfather's love with someone else. They go back inside the restaurant. So far, everything seems normal, until suddenly, a gang of young boys shows up outside. They start acting very rudely, revving their bikes, creating noise, and even killing a rabbit outside. Their behavior could drive away other customers. Nancy gets angry and goes outside to confront them. She threatens them and tells them to leave. But instead of backing off, they come inside the restaurant wearing masks and mock her by demanding service. Furious, Nancy warns them she'll call the police. When they still don't listen, she pretends to make the call, and it works. The boys leave, but one of them warns her, "We're leaving now, but we'll be back." Everyone had witnessed how badly those boys disrespected Nancy, and some even laughed at her. Seeing this, she was consumed with rage. She gathered the entire staff and reminded them that she was their manager, and they owed her respect. She made it clear that taking her orders was part of their duty. After all, she was the owner's granddaughter. Jack interrupted, saying, "This place belongs to your grandfather, not you. You don't deserve any credit." He even added, "There are people here who are way more experienced than you." Nancy reached her breaking point. Furious at Jack's disrespect, she fired him on the spot. Jack protested, saying, "You can't do that." But Nancy insisted, "I'm the manager now. My word is final." With no choice left, Jack removed his apron and left. Even Nancy wasn't sure why she had reacted so strongly. She went to the restroom to calm herself down and try to relax. Outside, Bobby was waiting for her. He said, "Since you fired Jack, I can stay tonight and help you. It's not safe for you to be alone." But Nancy got even more irritated. She felt like Bobby was pitying her or trying to get close. She lashed out at him, saying, "You're not my type, and if you're trying to impress me just to be friends, don't bother." Bobby was deeply hurt by her words and quietly left. A short while later, the entire staff's shift ended, and Nancy was left alone at the restaurant for the night. She began cleaning up. Then, seeing that no customers had arrived, called her grandfather. She told him she had fired Jack. Her grandfather was shocked. Nancy said, "He disrespected me in front of everyone. I had no choice." Worried, her grandfather advised her to stay alert throughout the night and call him immediately if anything happened. Nancy wasn't scared. She played music and began working, enjoying herself. But that fun only lasted until she saw the same gang of boys return outside the hotel. She saw the same gang that had come in the afternoon, and just the sight of them made her furious. After securing the place, she quickly called the police and reported that a biker gang was harassing her. The police assured her that they would send an inspector for help. Soon after, loud banging sounds started coming from all around the hotel. Someone was violently knocking on the doors. Terrified, Nancy hid under a counter. The banging went on for a while and then suddenly stopped. Nancy felt a moment of relief until someone knocked again. This time it was a calmer knock. Nervously, she peeked out from behind the counter and saw that it was a police officer, Inspector Sharif. She immediately opened the door for him. As soon as he entered, the officer said, "I need to thoroughly inspect the premises." He checked the entire hotel, but apart from Nancy, he didn't find anyone, neither inside the hotel nor outside. After inspecting the place, he reported to his team that there didn't seem to be any real threat. He assumed Nancy might be imagining things. To help her feel safer, he decided to stay with her for a while. He then asked Nancy to make him a coffee and sat down. But the way he looked at her was making her uncomfortable. Then, the officer approached Nancy and said, "Come with me to the police station. That gang has been involved in a lot of serious crimes lately. You should file an official complaint, and it'll be safer if you come with me." Just as he was trying to force her to go with him, the same gang of boys suddenly attacked from behind. They ambushed Officer Sharif and brutally killed him right in front of Nancy. Nancy was horrified. In a panic, she ran and hid inside a storage area. She was trembling in fear, unsure how to call for help or who to reach out to. Luckily, fate was on her side. Bobby had already been on his way to check on her. Seeing him gave Nancy some hope. She quickly silenced him and pulled him inside the hotel. Meanwhile, the gang members had also entered the hotel. Nancy had managed to message her friend, asking for help, either to come herself or send someone. But before Nancy and Bobby could do anything further, the gang captured them both and tied them up. Nancy could see her car keys nearby, but with her hands bound, she couldn't reach them. One of the gang members taped her mouth and hands, then locked her inside a room. But Nancy managed to free herself. She was still shaking in fear. As the man who locked her in approached, Nancy grabbed a knife nearby and stabbed him from behind. He died on the spot. When Nancy removed his mask, she was stunned. It wasn't a stranger. He was one of the employees who worked in her hotel. Moments later, she saw Bobby too, his hands untied. Nancy soon realized that Bobby was also part of the gang. They weren't the same group of people as before. They were actually employees from her hotel, and they had come here for revenge. Bobby, who had been her friend, had sided with them because she had humiliated him earlier that day. Now, back in the present, Nancy was furious after learning the truth. The boy Bobby had injured was still hurt, and they brought him inside the hotel. They were planning to call for help to save Bobby, but who could they turn to for help? This was now a police case. Bobby noticed Nancy's car keys, picked them up, and just then, Jack's associate told him that Nancy had escaped. Jack was furious and ordered Bobby to find her. But Bobby turned on Jack, punched him in the face, and decided to help Nancy instead. Meanwhile, Nancy had cleverly thrown hot water on the boy chasing her, burning his face. The boy, in agony, was quickly incapacitated. Nancy then sneaked to the restroom, where she found Bobby, wounded. She was about to help him when her friend arrived. Seeing the situation, her friend panicked and fled, not even thinking of calling the police. Nancy had also found her car keys, and avoiding Jack's gaze, ran out of the hotel. But Jack caught up with her and dragged her back by her hair, stabbing her in the back before bringing her body back into the hotel. Jack thought everyone was dead, but to his shock, Nancy was still alive. Gathering her remaining strength, she grabbed a knife and crawled to Bobby's lifeless body. She cried bitterly, as Bobby was the only one who truly cared for her. Fueled by anger and a desire for revenge, Nancy managed to get into her car and drove to Jack's house. When Jack opened the door, he was stunned to see Nancy standing there. Without wasting a moment, she stabbed him in the garden, avenging herself. Afterward, she felt exhausted and weak. She stumbled a few steps forward, but the next moment, her mother's face flashed in her mind. Suddenly, a car pulled up. It was her father, who had seen Nancy's car and rushed over. When he saw her in such a state, he became deeply worried and promised to take her to a doctor. But Nancy, in a calm voice, revealed, "I'm pregnant." And with that, the story ends.